Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to a new video. So what I actually want to do in this video is kind of give you a little bit of an update on the sale of my STI. I told you I was going to give you an update soon, and what I actually want to do here is kind of just inform you, let you know what's going on. I know it's been a little confusing and kind of going back and forth on different routes and different options. But this video is not necessarily going to give you the complete answer because at this point I'm still not 100% sure, still leaning towards a certain way, but I will update you guys. So before we get into this video, I kind of just want to explain the meaning of this entire topic of this video. I don't want people to get the wrong impression. I don't want people to think that this video is a video of me complaining, a video ranting or anything like that. I'm going to be using my STI as the example simply because that is the experience I'm currently going through. So, you know, it may seem a little whiny, a little annoying in a way where I'm kind of just venting, but I'm truly not. This video is simply going to give you some tips and pointers on how to go about purchasing a car or something from a private sale. And with my experience of selling completely modified, somewhat modified, as well as completely stock cars privately in the past, I'm pretty informed and I have a decent amount of experience with the whole process of selling privately. But this whole experience currently in this market is pretty insane. And I wanted to share that with you guys since it is pretty interesting and just kind of inform you guys of what's going on and what I have experienced with the sale of my STI. Now, just to get you up to speed so you got a little context, back in November of 2022, I decided to part ways with my STI that you see right here. I parted out quite a few things on the exterior, just mainly cosmetic stuff. I called it the fluff. Basically the stuff that wouldn't overall change the overall driving experience of the car. All the performance stuff is still there. It still drives, sounds, and feels the same. Just looks a little different, although it still looks fantastic in my personal opinion. However, yes, I decided to part ways with it. I've owned this car going on 6 years now, and it was just simply because I wanted to try something new. Put the car up for sale loosely. I never made specific ads or really pushed the sale or anything like that. And, you know, it's kind of been up for sale ever since. And during that process from November up until now, it's been roughly 2.5 months of loosely selling it. There has been a lot of things going through my mind. It has been quite the roller coaster of emotions. It's been quite the roller coaster of my indecisiveness. It's been a lot of things going on. That is kind of hard to describe. That is kind of hard to pinpoint and really say, yep, this is the reason why I'm doing it this way. This is the reason why I'm thinking of these options. It's been very confusing, and I've been doing my best to try to figure out the best route to go. Now, my original goal was to sell the STI, keep the truck as my daily driver, and replace the STI with a Porsche or some type of M car from BMW. That was and still is kind of my main goal, and that was what I was always focused on. But during the process of selling my STI, I'm going to go into that in a little bit as to everything that went on and is going on. I thought of a few different options. I thought of selling the truck, replacing the truck with a Type R as my daily driver, keeping the STI, remodifying it, and most recently I thought of selling the truck again and then replacing the truck with a BMW F80 M3, keeping the STI, remodifying it, and having those two cars. But you know, the more I thought about it, the more it made sense to just truly let go of the STI and replace that. The truck to me just makes way more sense overall as a dad of 3, as a daily driver in the Northeast where we see all types of weather, and me being a homeowner as well, and also a near potential future move. Having the truck will come in handy for the next few years for me, and getting rid of it wouldn't be in my best interest. And also that truck is completely paid off. I have the title and everything, so there is no cost associated with that truck other than just insurance and gas. So there's really no need for me to get rid of it, pick up another car payment and all that. It's just so practical for me that it doesn't make sense to get rid of it. So the next thing is replacing the STI, which is my original goal, and that is still kind of what I'm leaning towards. But there has been the idea floating through my mind of keeping the STI, just remodifying it, getting it back to the point where I had it, and just keeping both the truck and the STI kind of how it was, and leaving the whole entire idea of the sale alone for a little bit. And I'm going to go into why as I'm thinking that. But I'm still up in the air, still leaning towards selling the STI as that makes the most sense for me, and kind of move on to the next thing. But, you know, that is today. Tomorrow may be different. The next day may be different. I'm constantly changing my mind back and forth. It has been all over the place. Like I said, it is a roller coaster. And it may seem like me personally, I'm just indecisive. But let's get into some reasons as to why I have been thinking about those options and why it is possibly taking so long to sell the STI. 1, 2, maybe 3 years ago, the market of cars or anything in general was very, very different than it is today. With everything that happened with COVID and all the chip shortages and everything that's going on in the world, there has been so much influx and change of materialistic things like cars and all that, that it has been honestly hard to keep up. You know, one day there's things that are worth this much, and then 2 weeks later it's worth this much. You know, it's just constantly changing. And that's just honestly based on the economy and what's going on. Also, everybody is afraid of the giant recession that is bound to happen. It is going to happen. It's starting to be completely honest. You know, interest rates are insane right now. So a lot of people are starting to realize, hey, wait, as much as I want to buy that, you know, people are starting getting a little bit more smart with their money. So they're not going out and buying cars with 12% interest rates for, you know, 108 months or something insane like that. So, you know, it's getting a little tricky. It's getting a little tough to not only sell cars, but it's also getting tough to buy cars. So people are kind of holding off a little bit, getting a little bit smarter with their money, and they're starting to realize, you know, maybe I shouldn't be doing this or shouldn't be buying this at this time. So I do believe that is one of the reasons why I believe the STI is still kind of hanging around, just because of the interest rates, and people are getting a little bit smarter with their money and kind of holding on to it and waiting for the right time. Another thing that I have been experiencing and realizing during the sale at my STI is that there are so many examples, so many options to choose from, more so than ever. And the reason for that is because everybody is trying to sell everything they have, just throwing it up there and seeing what happens. And because of that, it is giving buyers a lot more options. They're able to kind of compare to what is selling, to what is not selling. So, you know, it's really giving people a lot more chances to kind of find that option or find that car that they truly want for a good price. There's a lot of comps out there that you compare, you know, what has sold, what hasn't sold, how many miles and all that. There's a lot of ways to kind of compare different options out there. And because of everybody's just throwing everything and anything up in the market, you know, there's just so many choices to choose from that I almost feel like my car, something that is so detail oriented, so well cared for, so, you know, a car enthusiast owned it for the last 6 years and taken extreme care of it, documented it through YouTube, and just, you know, how much attention to detail I paid on this car. I feel like that kind of gets lost in the mix, because I feel like car enthusiasts these days aren't car enthusiasts. I know that sounds a little crazy, but at the same time it doesn't, because the car enthusiasts these days are just not the same. I feel like more people are more focused on, you know, the price of something, getting it for the cheapest price possible, more so than focusing on what is more important, at least to me. And that is, you know, overall maintenance history, the care of the car, kind of the condition and everything like that. I think more people are more focused on the numbers more than ever, which makes sense given what I just talked about earlier with the economy and everything like that. But I feel like the true car enthusiasts that would appreciate something of this caliber and this, you know, this stage or this point of the car, it's few and far between, which I totally understand. I know not everybody is looking for a modified car. I know it limits your reach in your market when you have something as specific as this. But at the same time, it's pretty crazy. You know, like I said, I've sold modified cars in the past before, put them up for sale, and, you know, within maybe a couple of weeks to a month, they were sold and gone, and I got what I was asking. And that brings me to my next point, the examples, just how many options and choices there are out there. You know, I have had so many people, it's honestly insane the amount of interest I've had on the car. I've had so many people reach out to me saying, hey, I want the car, I'm super interested, I'm ready to go, you know, let's do this. And me being, you know, kind of the laid back kind of person, I'm just like, yeah, sure, let's go ahead, let's get things started, you know, answer all their questions and everything, talk to them for a few days, a week, sometimes even a month with one of the guys I was dealing with. And then all of a sudden they just kind of leave. They kind of ghost you. And I'm like, you know, that's kind of weird. You know, when it starts getting down to the nitty gritty, like, hey, okay, how you're going to pay and all that kind of stuff, people just tend to leave. You know, and a few days pass and I kind of just let it go, just realizing that they're not a serious party. I just move on. I'm like, whatever, that's a done deal. And then they'll come back to me a couple days later and they're like, oh, sorry, I went with a different option. That's fine. Like, it doesn't bother me. What's bothering me about this whole thing is that people are reaching out. They're saying, hey, I want the car. I'm very interested in it. I'm ready to go. And then they just go and do something else. They go and purchase another vehicle. At the same time, I wouldn't be reaching out to somebody saying, I want this, I want to do this, I'm ready to go, if I have other choices or other options to go with. I'm only going to reach out if I'm truly 100% interested. And that has always been the way that I approach things, whether it's with a house, whether it's with cars, or anything in general. I'm not going to reach out to somebody unless I'm like, hey, I'm ready to go. I have the finances. I want this thing that you are selling. I am ready to go. I want to buy it. I don't get the whole thing of just reaching out just to talk and just kind of waste somebody's time. I'm not going to waste your time, so why would you waste mine, kind of thing. I do understand things can change in a day, in a couple hours, or what have you, and people just go a different direction. I get it. I don't get upset by it. But it's just been absolutely insane, the amount of people that have done that with, in my situation, in my experience with this car. I'm just, it leaves me scratching my head, like, what is going on in this world? Why are people reaching out and being so inconsiderate and immature about the situation when, me personally, I wouldn't be reaching out unless I was ready to go. Why waste somebody's time if you're just going to just kind of ghost them and go with another option? And another reason as to why I believe this hasn't kind of sold yet, my theory, is that the market is just all over the place. Like, constantly, the pricing of these cars in particular have drastically went up, went down, have gone back up. It's been all over the place. If you guys have been following me for quite some time, you guys know that I actually sold this car literally a year ago, back in January of 2022. It was the end of January. I got a deposit on it. I was asking $45,000 for the car, and it actually had less modifications on the car then than I do now. And it was a pretty easy sale. I was able to get that deposit probably within 3 weeks or so of listing the car for sale, very, very loosely. I just listed it on my Instagram, and the car was sold. But as we all know, it did fall through, but I was able to actually get, interest and somebody that was potentially serious about buying the car. And now I actually have the car listed for less than that, with more modifications, in better shape than it ever was. Now, I know there are 1,000 other examples out there, maybe with a little less miles, maybe a little bit newer and all that. And this is not a video to kind of comment on my pricing or anything. I get where my pricing is, and I do think it's extremely fair for what you are getting. It is pretty insane, the amount of documentation, the amount of history. This whole car was public throughout my ownership of every little thing that I have done. I don't know any other car out there that is for sale, at least an STI or WRX, that has that amount of history that, any potential new owner can literally go back and look at the videos and see when it was installed, what I thought about it, how it was installed, plus the amount of documentation that I have, off camera in terms of spreadsheets and when it was installed, mileage, the date, how much I paid. It's pretty insane the amount of information I have for this car. Now, like I said, this is not a video to say, your price is too aggressive or anything like that. I just personally listed it for what I think it's worth and worth to me. I understand that it's not worth that to somebody else, but it is to one specific person. And I'm holding out for that one specific person because, I am limiting my reach. I'm limiting my market. Because of the current state of the car, which I totally understand. And I'm in a fortunate position where I don't have to, I don't have to sell it. It's not a financial hardship. It's not a burden or anything like that. So it's nothing of that nature. It's just me wanting to move on to another platform. So, I'm not in a rush. I'm not going to settle or anything like that. And I am very, very confident I will get my asking and I will get, what I want for the car for somebody. I know that one person is out there. But it's just interesting to see how much the market has changed in such a short time. So my advice is, if you are in the position to be purchasing a vehicle, you're, purchasing it through a private party, here's a couple tips. Don't reach out to that person or that dealer or whoever may be selling it unless you're ready, unless you have your finances in check, unless you have cash or you have a certified check or you're pre-approved for whatever amount. Don't reach out to somebody unless you are ready. Also, if you have a vehicle that you need to sell prior to purchasing the vehicle that you want, make sure you don't do that. Make sure you have all your ducks lined in a row, because there's nothing more irritating than somebody reaching out saying, hey, I want your car, I'm ready to go, but I need to sell 47 trucks and 6 cars, and I'm not going to be ready until March 2032. Can you hang on to it for me? You know, I mean, obviously that is an extreme, that is an exaggeration, but I have for sure gotten something of that variant. You know, somebody kind of going along those lines of asking me to hang on to the car for them, and they got to do all this stuff in order to kind of purchase it. You know, don't reach out unless you are 100% ready. There's no kind of strings attached or anything like that. And my last tip of this is that, you know, everything is negotiable. There's always a point in a sale where, you know, there is some negotiation that can happen. Now, within reason. Don't be irrational and just lowball them just to see what they say. I'm telling you, it is not worth the aggravation from the other party. It kind of puts them off. It puts a bad taste in their mouth. You know, unless you offer a very, very realistic and reasonable offer, there's just no reason to really, you know, offer that unless you're actually within, you know, a reasonable amount of their asking price. Because odds are, if you offer a reasonable and realistic offer, you know, they'll talk with you, and most likely they end up working something out with you. I know I'm that way when it comes to things. You know, if somebody is cool and realistic, I'll be more than happy to kind of chat and kind of work something out. But that's just the way things go. People love to try to get deals and throw a low ball and see what happens. But if you are just genuinely interested in the vehicle or whatever it is, don't be irrational and offer them, you know, hey, you know, I got a PS5 and some Kit Kats or something like that. You know, it just doesn't make sense. And the sellers would just kind of put you off and just be like, all right, you know, it's not even worth my time. So at the end of it all, this is just my personal experience with the current market, with the current sale of my STI. I am still back and forth on the decision whether I want to sell it or not. And I think that's just mainly due to the amount of time that it has taken, and also the current market. It almost makes sense to not let it go at this certain point in time, just because of what is going on and what I have truly experienced in this, you know, 2.5 months or so. Everybody is just shooting their shot, whether they can afford it or not. And, you know, it's just been an interesting experience for me throughout this whole process. And again, don't take this video as me complaining or venting or anything like that. This is just my experience with the sale of this car in this market. And I'm hoping that this kind of informs others in a similar position of what to do and what not to do, just to kind of clear out the air, get everything out in the open in terms of what you should and shouldn't do with a sale of a car or a purchase of a car. Things will go a lot smoother. You maybe even get a better deal if you kind of go at it approach with a little bit more maturity and just be a little bit more realistic overall. But that is just my 2 cents. Again, this is just my experience with this car. I'm still loving the car. You know, I'm not in a rush to sell it, as I mentioned. So I know this video may have seen a little bit complainy and kind of venting, but I assure you it's not. I'm in good spirits about it. You know, I am more than okay with this car still in my garage. I have a huge list of modifications for version 2, and I teamed up with a very, very pretty darn big Subaru company that we're kind of just working some things out, and obviously waiting on my decision and kind of what I want to do. So, you know, I can go either way. I'll be very, very happy in the long run, whichever decision I go with or whatever happens. But I just figured I'd make this video, kind of gives you guys a little bit of an update of where I am with the sale of the STI. I've had quite a few interests. Honestly, to put it lightly, I've had probably over 40 people that I have talked to, actually probably more than that, in the last 2.5 months of the sale of the STI. And those were interested people that were genuinely, hey, I want the car, I'm ready to go. You know, I can't even tell you how many people there have been of just tire kickers. It has been exhausting. It's been a full-time job just to kind of deal with that, which is to be expected with the position I'm in and kind of what I do here. You know, people are just curious and just want to chat, which is totally fine. I totally get it. I'm willing to chat, but at the same time, if you have no interest in purchasing the car, you know, I'm not going to waste your time, so I would appreciate it if you didn't waste mine. But that's going to be it for this one, guys. I'm sorry if it seemed a little kind of crybaby and, you know, a little bit venting. But at the same time, I hope it's kind of helpful for anybody in a position where they're selling a car or they're purchasing a car, of what to do and what not to do. And again, this is just my experience with the STI currently in this market. It has been wild. It has been a roller coaster. It's been fun, to say the least, just to kind of see how things are going. The market is absolutely insane. And it's kind of, I'm seeing it firsthand with everything going on and with the potential sale of this car. So I know this video wasn't really 100% the answer that you may be looking for of what I'm doing. I'm kind of leaning towards keeping the car, just remodifying it and keeping it for sale. And if anybody does come along, I may entertain the idea of selling it. But I don't know, and I will definitely inform you guys when I am 100% sure of what is going to happen. I like to keep you guys informed of everything going on since this is my car life, my car journey on here. So I figured I would just make a video, give you guys a little bit of update, what I've been dealing with for the last 2.5 months or so. And give you a little bit of insight as to what's going on. I'm not going to keep making these videos, like, hey, I'm thinking about selling it, but I'm thinking about not. Next video that I make of this topic, it's either going to be, yep, I'm keeping it, or yep, it's sold. I don't want to kind of confuse you guys even more than you already are. So I will definitely do my best to inform you guys on whatever the decision ends up being, whether that's tomorrow or a year from now. I will definitely inform you guys and keep you posted. But that's going to do it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was informative. I hope it gave you a little bit of insight as to what is going on. But that's going to be it for this one. If you guys have any questions at all, or you are interested in the STI, let me know in the comments below. I'll be more than happy to answer or discuss. But in the meantime, keep it clean, keep it simple, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.